considering I'd risked my life to be here. I wasn't enjoying this party at all. The ballroom inside the Hotel Epoque in Bucharest had been decorated to resemble nothing so much as an explosion at a wedding cake factory. Around me, the other VIPs who would be attending the upcoming transatlantic summit on alphomic policy were mingling politely, drinks in hand. Like everyone else present, I was dressed to the nines. My forest green velvet evening dress had been chosen to highlight my fiery red hair. Makeup thick enough to hide my nervous pallor presented a facade of approachable feminine beauty to the outside world. Jewelry hovering just on the right side of gaudy dripped from my earlobes, throat, and wrists as I cradled the martini I was pretending to nurse and smiled pleasantly at everyone who greeted me. Inside, I was waiting for the metaphorical ground to crumble beneath my 4-inch designer stilettos. It was a feeling I'd grown used to over the years, since it was almost always present, hovering in the background of my sham of a life. Tonight, however, I had more cause than usual to worry. Cameron Patel hurried toward me through the crowd, trying valiantly not to look like he was hurrying. Lithe and graceful in his tailored tuxedo, he slipped through gaps in the throng like a shadow, ignoring the appreciative looks he garnered from most of the female guests and more than a few of the male ones as he passed. I smiled blandly as he reached my side and cupped his hand beneath my elbow, the small point of contact easing a fraction of the tension from my shoulders. Placing my untouched martini on the tray of a passing waiter, I allowed myself to be herded subtly toward the dance floor. "He's just arrived," Cam murmured in my ear, his light, Indian-accented voice too low to be heard by anyone else above the rising hum of conversation. I gave a tiny nod to let him know I'd understood, and settled into his arms. We smoothly inserted ourselves into the glittering whirl of other couples waltzing around the floor to the accompaniment of a string quartet playing Tchaikovsky. "They say he has the sharpest senses of any beta alive," Cam said, still too low for any other ears but mine. "Leona, I'm scared for you. This is too risky." Anyone watching us would see nothing more than a short, curvy, red-headed beta woman dancing with a black-haired, olive-skinned beta man of average height and slender build, but with an unusually beautiful face. They'd be wrong on both counts. Since the purge began more than a century ago, Omegas like us had 3 choices: submit to slavery, undergo sterilization and become second-class citizens, or hide in plain sight as betas and take our chances in a world that despised us. Thanks to rich beta parents who'd cared more for their child's freedom than their own safety, I'd had the luxury of the third option. The Omega in my arms, who now played the role of my trusted colleague, had, in succession, experienced all 3 of those things during the course of his 35 years. That we'd achieved as much as we had was almost unheard of in a world run by betas. Thanks to a combination of ambition and the subtle evolutionary advantages conveyed by my Omega status, I'd enjoyed a meteoric rise through the diplomatic corps in the United Federation of North America. Black market heat blockers and pheromone suppressors had so far prevented anyone from detecting my ruse. Of course, that toxic cocktail also practically ensured that I'd succumb to one form of cancer or another within the next couple of decades, if I didn't somehow manage to get off them soon.